Even trading in Wall Street, my brother, my uncle, my cousins are all brokers. I learned very quickly, it's a scam. The Wall Street is a controlled gig too. It's a game. It's just like going to casinos in Vegas. Vegas was built by losers. So is Wall Street. And in 8 years, I've had more gain doing nothing but HODLing Bitcoin than I have in every trade, every business I've ever owned. And he built the first Learjet, and they just sold them, and he was very successful. And he goes, but if I'd gone to college, just like all those people, I would have been educated what I can't do. Get off the lab food. Don't be buying things in boxes. Don't buy things that have multiple ingredients. Eat real food. I think you'll heal yourself of anything. And many people that do this, all of a sudden, they're like, I don't need these prescriptions. Exactly. This is crazy. You guys are up to 20 pills a day with supplements. And I'm the guy with a disease, and I don't do that. I actually call them casino coins because I even know Bitcoiners that, OGs, maxis that trade other coins. What? Yeah, they're screwing around. Now they're not doing it with their HODL. They're traders. That's what they do. They trade stocks, they trade. And so that's kind of their job. And I have many friends and they go, yeah, I've got some ETH, or I'm shorting it, or I'm buying gold, or, stocks. They don't care what it is. I have said for many years as a kid growing up that we need to distribute systems. These mega companies, mega stores, mega pharmacy, pharmaceuticals and all is not good. And mega power, mega water companies that control. And I learned this, but I kept saying we need to distribute things like nature does. When I read the white paper and learned the word decentralization, that's what clicked. It was just like, oh my God, they've taken humans out of the printing of money. And Tom Vase, who was a good friend of mine, he's like, nobody gets it that quick. I go, I've known the money was bad since I was 11 years old. My father lectured me in 1971, and we're not only doing it, but we're camped out where we have a gold mine in California. It's for sale right now, the property. 1,000 acres in a gold mine. It's one of the biggest hydraulic mines ever in America. And, people, we did mine it in the 70s. We're not mining it, we're trying to sell it. But I jokingly said, Dad would be a Bitcoiner if they had Bitcoin. But there was never an option. Growing up, I knew the money was bad. I used real estate, I used stocks, traded tons of things because I was just trying to maintain my wealth that I had created when I was 30 years old. And if I could just keep that purchasing power, I was retired. But it doesn't stay that way. It keeps melting, like Sailor says. So I spent my entire life looking for options. And when Bitcoin came along, it was like, they've done it. This is it. That's why I'm so into it, is because I had an education long before most people. The money's bad. My father made me, I was really a curious kid, and we would fly around on a small plane and talk for hours. And he got me to read The Mechanics of Money, I think was the name of it. It was a handbook of the Fed. And that's where I learned, and he taught me the story of Ponzi and who Ponzi was and what a Ponzi scam is. And man, it's a handbook for a Ponzi scheme. It's absolutely perfect. And you're like, Jesus, these guys, this is the most rigged game ever. And even trading in Wall Street, my brother, my uncle, my cousins are all brokers. And I learned very quickly, it's a scam. The Wall Street is a controlled gig too. It's a game. It's just like going to casinos in Vegas. Vegas was built by losers. So is Wall Street. You're taking your money all the time. And this is where Bitcoin, I got out of it. I'm like, I'm done. And in 8 years, I've had more gain doing nothing but HODLing Bitcoin than I have in every trade, every business I've ever owned. I've never seen these kinds of gains. And people are, well, I started at $2,500 in 2017. That's 40x on that Bitcoin. Now, I've used a lot of it. I live on Bitcoin. So most of that's gone, but it doesn't bother me at all. The reality is Bitcoin is HODLing. It's your strong box, your safe, your bank, and it can be your checkbook. And it can be which very few people use anymore, or it can be the cash in your wallet. I help Mexicans use it for a payment system. They're not HODLing that much. They're beginning to. Other people use it for only HODLing. Number go up. I love Bitcoin because it's what it is for every person individually. It is not a thing that, anybody can say this is what it has to be. It's up to them. So
it's really cool because there's this whole experience, because I don't have any life experience. I'm 27 and I got into Bitcoins when I was 21, 22 years old, somewhere around there. And so for me, I had to learn the way of decentralization, what's the value behind having money that's not controlled by the government, because I had no experience in like what's wrong with a centralized system. And so it sounds like for you, you already got all those things. And when you heard first about Bitcoin, it clicked very quickly for you because you already knew what the value behind that is from your life experience.
Yeah. See, people think I'm so wise. Well, I've got a lot of years and I've done a lot of stuff in my life. Most of my friends did not have as many companies, didn't live in multiple countries, didn't travel. You know, they're boomers sitting there 45 years in the same job. And, you know, they're going to get to the end of their life and be laying on their deathbed going, what the fuck was that about? Nothing. You didn't put any meaning to your life. I had a Spaces last night I was talking to, and these guys were talking about Viktor Frankl, The Meaning of Life. And it's a book that was written many years ago while he was in concentration camp. He was Jewish and got thrown in. A fantastic book. But there's many of these, like Power of Now is another one. And this young man's like, I love that book too. I'm like, wow, you're reading the right books. Now, there are probably newer ones because I'm an older guy, but these are the books that I use to wake up. And part of it was my father woke my ass up early, and I spent my entire life knowing this is a rigged system. It's a game. Inflation is the cheese to keep you on the grind, on the wheel. And it's cooked. It's in the books. It's in the game. It's just like Bitcoin has its own adjustment. You know, that adjustment that Satoshi put in it, amazing. Absolutely amazing. Approximately 10 blocks, adjusting itself all the time, every few weeks. That is just genius. But this is the thing, is they cooked a game that is rigged. Whether it's Wall Street, whether it's gold trading, paper gold, that's what I had. And, you know, Peter Schiff says nobody's selling gold for Bitcoin. I sold all my gold certificates for Bitcoin in 2017 and did half of it the next day after reading the white paper. That's how quickly. And then 2 weeks later said, I'm doing the rest. And then my brother comes in that July. I was camped out in our property where the mine is, and he lived there in an apartment. And he came over. I was having a party. He comes over. He goes, you're totally screwed. And I just laughed. I go, China? Because they banned it? And he says, yeah. I says, they can't stop it. I knew in 2017 because I understood how it works. I go, and he goes, but it's illegal. Dude, marijuana is illegal. I've been smoking it my entire life. I don't really care about what the law says when the law has got people in Congress that are not even American citizens, and they married their brother. Are you kidding me? Pay taxes to the U.S. government? Sorry, guys. Now, people are going, no, my Bitcoin's in an IRA. So I put my Bitcoin in an IRA, not all of it, but part of it, and that's what I live off of. So I don't have taxation. And the reason I don't have tax, I don't make money. Period. That's how I got out. I was like, well, the only way to legally not pay taxes is don't make money. And people are like, yeah, I'm retired. I don't have to make more. I have satsification. This is another word I made up. I have satsification.com. I haven't done anything with it, but I just want to share with people. You get in this grind, you get wound up, you start making money, you're doing good. Some of the richest people I know have no life at all. They are absolutely, I know a guy sitting on $20 million in cash, and he bought MicroStrategy, then he bought Bitcoin. He's just getting richer and richer, but he does nothing anymore. And he's totally lost. He's sitting there going, I don't know what to do. Well, you don't have to work. You're done. He's like, I have to, that's all I know. And he goes to the gym and he works, and he's getting into this routine that his friend did. His friend died during COVID, very good friend of mine. And, you know, it was sad, but Tim, since then, he used to travel. He was 1 million miles a year. He was an awarded, you know, all this special, you know, deal with Alaska. He was their biggest client. And he was a stockbroker and flew all over the place, came to Mexico almost every weekend. I mean, once, 1 weekend a month. These guys were you know, incredible, but all of a sudden he stopped. And I know many, many more men that have that money, and they get so caught up in the grind and doing it. The problem is, as your income gets greater, people make the mistake of increasing their cost. And when I hear what people are paying for a mortgage and insurance, taxes, not even for the mortgage, I go, guys, I live on that per year, what you're paying per month. It's insane. Now, my father told me when I was younger, he says, you know, your brother is a salesman. He's a stockbroker. He said, that's all they really are salesmen. And he said that the way you know that is he spends 125% of what he makes. In other words, he's always in debt, and he's always grinding out more, but he wears, you know, $300, $600 suits. My father is worth 10 times, 100 times what he's worth. And Dad taught me another thing. When you have money, okay, when you don't have money, you wear the Armani suits and you rent the limo and you show big because people want to do money with people that are successful. Once you're successful, Levi's in a work shirt. And he'd fly a plane and land, and we'd make meetings all over. And one day, I've been in 9 states out of the 11 states, landed and did business, or 8 in 9 out of 11 Western states in one day. He says, you'll never forget this day. And we're putting the plane away. I'm going, that was wild. It's like, but we land, we do these business meetings. You talk to these men, and I'd learned this stuff. I'm just a kid, but I was educated heavily in corporate business, just being with my dad and listening to the meetings. I, learned not to interrupt and, take care of myself and be busy and things. But it was kind of fascinating to me because I'd meet these men that had made a shitload of money and they couldn't stop. I'm like, why are you doing this? Why not go enjoy life? They don't know what else to do. See, I'm at the point now, I've got a ranch and I'm working harder than I've ever worked physically. And I'm healing because I've got severe rheumatoid arthritis. These are my hands. So I'm very, people say don't use handicap. This is the definition of handicapped. I can't grip things. I can't, but I still do things. And when people see me driving the tractor, flying a plane, sailing boats, they're like, Jesus, you don't know. I'm not going to stop. It's a part of life. It's like, I did extreme sports most of my life. And when I hit 30, I got nailed with rheumatoid arthritis and couldn't walk for a couple of years. They wanted to put me in a wheelchair. And I'm like, no way. I get in that wheelchair, I'm never getting out. Well, that might be your life. Not yet. And I walked in severe pain and they said your ankles will never heal and you have bone to bone and it's just going to be pain for the rest of your life. Well, I walk around like a maniac now. It's in my hands, it's in my shoulder, it moves. But there's the thing, doctor would see me, he's already gone, he's passed. But if he hadn't, he'd just be like, Jesus, you're doing it. And here's something that'll really, the kicker. I've tried vegan, I've tried vegetarian. And when I found out about Bitcoin, I found sound money. I was in a pool with a bunch of Bitcoiners after BitBlock Boom with Tone Bays and the guys from Wasabi and some other guys. We were all talking, half of them were Bitcoiners. Oh, and Surfer Jim was there. And that's where I met Surfer Jim. And he just went carnivore. And that night was when I began my carnivore diet. I bought Tone a steak and all the guys at the table, we had 20 of us or something having steaks. And everybody was basically getting on that. And I met a vegan girl. I saw a girl and I looked at her, I go, you're a carnivore, but you probably were scared that you were going to get skinnier. But are you gaining weight? And she goes, yeah, that's exactly. How'd you know that? And I says, because you look like you're a vegetarian or vegan. And she goes, I know, but I'm getting weight and it's changing. I go, I know. So what I learned that day was carnivore is not healing everybody. You're healing your body so your body can heal whatever disease you have. So here's the kicker. Rheumatoid Arthritis Foundation, I think today, because I checked it months ago, the United States has Arthritis Foundation. You go there on their website and they say one thing you do not want to eat is red meat. That's all I eat. And I'm healing and getting stronger every day. And I can prove it because the other day I pulled a hose. I unscrewed a hose while I was holding my phone. And I realized I not only did it with my hand, I did it with one hand. And I'm like, it takes me 2 hands to get a hose off, or I have to have big water pump pliers. I mean, I have these tools, because my hands are so bad, vice grips and all these ways to grip things, and I'm getting to where I don't need them. And I can't believe I'm doing the chores around here. I'm like, God, 6 months ago, I couldn't do that. So when people say you have to be this way, I tell you right now, this is what I said earlier. Sound money, not everybody, but some people get it. And when they really get it, they want sound health because now they have their wealth taken care of. And I saw this talking to these guys. We're all in Bitcoin. They're all doing pretty good. And now it's time to work on physical. And it's amazing because it's like all the Bitcoiners know about Wim Hof and breathing exercise. A lot of them know about yoga. A lot of them know about meditation. I mean, this is the stuff. These are the tools we should teach children so they can stay centered and grounded and intelligent, and absorb. Learn. The other thing I tell people, the greatest hack in life is learn how to learn. Everybody learns differently. So you got to learn how you learn. How do you absorb information? Can you just read it and get it? Do you need to write notes down? Do you need to read it twice? Do you need to rewrite? Whatever it takes. Because once you learn how to learn, I learned how to use a library and I used to check out 10, 20 books at a time every week. I mean, I was a nut for that. I didn't read them all. They're resources. But now you've got all that in your hand in a phone. I mean, like, are you kidding me? People ask me a question. I'm like, why don't you just search it? You've got the answer in your hand. They'd rather call me. I had a partner in business. He's a coder. And he'd call me. And so I've got this problem. I go, what is it? And he'd send me this, crazy code and the problems he's having. And while we're talking, I send him, okay, I think I figured it out here. And he goes, where the hell did you get that? I said, well, basically I put what you just said into the search engine along with the problem, the code. He goes, I go, you didn't even try. You just called me. And he goes, how the hell? You don't know coding. I go, no, I'm not even sure if it's the answer. He goes, it is. It solves the problem. And he was just like, how the hell did you find that? And I just put what you said into a search engine. It's like your question. Why didn't you do that? So this is the thing. People, we have these tools, Bitcoin, Nostr. These are decentralized tools. This is why I use Nostr. I just post on it once a day. I try to, make some kind of his apps and do interact. It's dying off in a sense because there's no need for it, but there will be. I guarantee you there's going to be attacks on X. There's going to be attacks on everybody, and it is coming. And that's when people are going to run to Nostr. And it's because they're not going to, you cannot kill Nostr. It's like Bitcoin. Good luck with that, folks. Nobody knows who's running the servers. You got all these many heads. It's very nature-like. And this is Bitcoin, and as well as Nostr, it's about nodes. This ranch is a node. On this ranch, it's going to be a node to the Citadel group. We have a group called the Mesh Citadel, which is a group of Citadel builders, and there's many of them all over, many more than I know of even. And some are very private. They don't want to be known, and others are very public, like myself. But the beauty is this network is actually a bunch of nodes. And inside the ranch, every house will be more nodes. They may even be running Bitcoin nodes and running servers, or we'll be running the servers as a group. But this is the point is, the server I put up, I want to have a lot. I'm trying to capture information, YouTubes, PDFs, written information, stuff that we can also print, resources that they may take down. Once they're on my server, they're going to be on other servers around the world. They're not taking anything down. So during COVID, Untapped Growth got a hold of me and said, hey, you got to help us out. Make sure to post this, keep this information live. And it was about goat milk being used as baby milk. Well, this has gone on for many years, hundreds of years. This is how women, if they aren't producing the milk, they would use goat milk. And there's a recipe for it. And they kept taking it down during COVID. This is exactly the same week that they had the baby formula problem in the United States. I don't know if you know about that. But the day after they announced that they had this tainted baby formula and they had to throw out, Bill Gates comes out with a new lab form of baby milk. He's got, patents, and he's got this new milk that they can use. And so they're taking down this use of goat milk, which is just a natural way to deal with the problem and has been for, many years. And so he said, please post it. And this is the kind of information they may start attacking farming, gardening. And at the same time, the WEF, the World Economic Forum, when I went there the other day to get an article that I had read that the WEF says independent farmers are a world threat to the global. You're damn right they are, because if people have food and they're sovereign with food, water, and energy, you can't screw with them. It's really hard to control somebody such as myself. They think they can, but no. And I live in a place in Mexico where I'm in the frontier. So I'm in the Alaska of Mexico. There's almost no government at all out here. We have local government, and the police are actually pretty nice. It's not a real big tourist area. It's ecotourism. So the capital, La Paz, which is near the ranch, is where my resources are there. And it's actually a nice city. I mean, people come, it's really, wow, this place is amazing. Right on the bay. It's beautiful. And they have cafes and everything all over the streets, and, very open markets and everything. So it really is unlike Cabo, unlike San Jose, which are 3 hours away, they're inundated with the really cheaper tourist or the real high-end tourist, but it's all tourists. That's all those. Cabo only exists for tourism. I was there in 1969, and there was nothing but a fish packing plant. It was famous for the fish packing plant and some ranches, like 3 or 4. There was no water and no town, and a hotel was starting to be built. And I met the founder of that and then the owner of the Pedro, these two developers that built Cabo. And people are like, you knew them? They died. I said, I was 9 years old. So I met them. I didn't really know them, but I know their reputation. Says I went back to Cabo, and their kids were now owning and running things. They were amazed that I knew their father. Like, oh, wow, you knew my dad? I'm like, yeah, I met him several times. But I watched this town grow up out of nowhere, Cabo. And and I'll say this about any tourist town, whether it's Mexico or anywhere, they're not the places to live. People go there on vacations, have a great time. They go, well, if I'm going to leave I'm going to go there. Like a gal's coming down from Canada, and I'm not going to dox her, but she's been asking me about it. She's in America now. She got a motorhome, and she's coming to here because she wants to check it out. I said, yep. And this is the way to do it. In a motorhome, she gets to experience driving the Baja. She gets to experience Mexico. She may find, I want to live like this, but I don't want to live here. I totally get it. I don't want anybody living here that doesn't want to live here, but it is open to 100 homes is what we're going to build here. So, and you'll build your own. Could possibly have people here that are like the contractor I'm using. You can hire them because you can see what they've already done. And this is what I'm trying to do is get contractors and workers that are going to continue working at the ranch for years. And he gets it. He knows the whole plan. And he's like, wow, you really are, going for it. And I enjoyed the journey. Many people say, and I tell you, my father also told me as a kid, pick bigger projects and goals. You're going to accomplish them much faster than you realize. Oh my God, I started so many businesses, and you think it's a 5-year grind. In 2 years, my problem is after about 3 years, I get bored. I literally just kind of like, it's the building that's exciting, the journey of creating it. But once it's just running, it's like, bleh. And I just give it to the employees and walk away. And my brother's like, you could have sold that. Yeah, but they built it. So I give them the greatest bonus in the world. You guys run it. You already do. I have very good skills at creating teams of people and employees. I've had businessmen say, I want to be your partner. Why? Because you find the best employees. No, you don't. I don't. I make them. I create them. Because what it is, I give people the right to think and the right to be. Now, if you aren't a thinker, and I've had a secretary that worked for a week, and she came into the meeting, the whole crew was in there, and we're having a board meeting or whatever. We're having a meeting, and I said, please tell these guys, what you told me this morning. And she goes, guys, I'm going to quit. I can't work here. And everybody goes, oh, wow, is there a problem? And she goes, well, yeah, you guys want me to think. They all just pointed at the door, like simultaneously, there's the door. Like, yeah, this guy lets us think. He actually cares about, my employees, I don't care what your job is. You could have an idea on a solution on something you know nothing about. Getting to people that really are fresh in an idea and a concept many times will say something that then will trigger the answer to you. They didn't really have the answer, but they triggered you to get the answer. This is why all the knowledge I have, and whenever I acquire more knowledge, which is every single day, I also know how much I don't know. You see, people think they know something like, well, you know this for now, but be flexible. You may be wrong. You may be proven wrong. You got to be available. I mean, so many people get in the echo chambers, and I see it all the time, and people say, how do you know what The View said? I watch The View at times. I want to know what my sister is watching. I watch MSNBC. Do I believe what they're saying? No. I want to know what the lies are. You see, but I don't mind talking to shitcoiners at all. I don't do it. I actually call them casino coins because I even know Bitcoiners that, OGs, maxis that trade other coins. What? Yeah, they're screwing around. Now they're not doing it with their HODL. They're traders. That's what they do. They trade stocks, they trade. And so that's kind of their job. And I have many friends and they go, yeah, I've got some ETH or I'm shorting it or I'm buying gold or, stocks. They don't care what it is. Yesterday, it was pretty funny because Darkside, who's really great on Spaces these days, and Dark was talking about, in trading that people get to where they're, what was it? I'll think of it. I lost the thought, but these guys are talking about trading, and it's just amazing how many people want to trade Bitcoin. It's one of the most difficult things to trade. Now, it's volatile. That's what you want in trading. If it's just going sideways, you're not going to make any money. So you want the up and down. And so it's volatility that makes you a trader. So don't be afraid of that. Don't be mad about it, that's what you want. But Bitcoin is radical changes very fast, and people freak out emotionally very easily. Just the other day when it dumped below 100, people are like, oh God, it's going to 80. Maybe. And then it was 102 all of a sudden. You're like, see? And I didn't know. I'm not even trying to know. And watching charts, well, how do charts work for something that's never been? When we get into the rare air above the all-time high, what chart is going to give you any, they're using history to predict the future. I totally understand that, but that's not how, the last trading I did was futures trading, and it's totally degenerate style. And it's just the same thing they're doing with casino coins. Oh, that was the thing. The dark side was talking about the casino coins. What's the value? Where's the value? And people kept, the casino or shitcoiners would come up and talk, and they're talking about the coin. Goes, okay, what's the value of Solana? What's the value of this? And the guy, they really couldn't answer. I come up and I go, it's simple, guys. It's NGU. It has nothing to do with the value of the project, the crypto they're buying. They don't know they don't even care what it does. They don't read their white papers normally. They're watching charts. They put a chart on and go, this one's going to fly. So what's the value? Number go up. And why did they do it? To make more Bitcoin. They're not doing it to hold a shitcoin for long. So, it's a gain to them. I'm done with that. I find that since I started HODLing, like I said, the first coin I bought was very $2,500. That's 40x. Now I have other, but the average is insane. In 8 years, I have made more money doing nothing. And just to give you a relative, 4 years before that, I owned a condo and a palapa, or a smaller apartment. And these are rentals as well as I used them. I made huge money on rental. Both of these properties I owned, I was able to get 4x in 4 years. Every year I made 100%. I mean, it's like, wow, I pay for the whole thing never in real estate. That's the best real estate gig I've ever done. And I knew it was going to blow up. And when I sold it at a huge profit, the rent and the profit on the sale gave me that 4x. But I had to do Airbnb. I had to clean the thing or have somebody clean. There's cost and all these taxes and all this stuff. And then I switch over to Bitcoin, do nothing. And I kick ass on I traded in the .com era. I traded in the computer era. I was there before tech was a word. And so first time I touched a computer was in 1972. You get an idea. It was a teletype machine to a mainframe at UCSB in Santa Barbara. I was in a boarding school. Like I said, with video, we had incredible teachers, and we had access and resources that no school, high school normally would have. Radio station. We had a video center that we had a color video camera, a backpack before the TV station. They used to come and borrow it, rent it. It was literally, we had a better setup than the TV station in Santa Barbara, the public broadcasting. And we helped them all the time because we had the equipment, we had the knowledge. And they're just like, God, you guys are 14, 15 years old. And yeah, it was awesome. See, people have a thing with school. I didn't big on, this. I never cared about the courses or the major or the certificate, the diploma. I wanted their labs, and I wanted to use their laboratories and their libraries. I wanted the resources. So I took courses that I didn't care if I was going to graduate. I've had 5 years of college. I could have five degrees. Never did one. 2 of them I could get if I just did a health class. This is required by the state of California. I was like, I'm studying genetics, and now you want me to go down and, I get it, but it's a requirement. And to me, education is really a mess in the world, okay? Because it's indoctrination. It's not education in many cases. And when I was a young man, I got to meet Bill Lear of Lear Jets. And I'm sitting in his jet. We weren't flying. We were just sitting on the tarmac. And he asked me when I was like 14, I was probably freshman. And he says, what are you going to do when you get out of high school? My dad's there. I'll go to college. He goes, oh, that's a shame. And my father was like, oh, no, don't do this thing, because he's going to listen. And he said, if I gone to college, 90% of what I built, and he created the airway system we fly on today, which is genius. They've now modified it, but they didn't modify it for 40 years. He created something absolutely amazing. And then he created the 8-track tape player, which a lot of people my age know. It's a huge cassette tape. It's not the smaller cassette tape, but that was huge. Some other radios he created, all kinds of stuff. And he patented all, he'd create these inventions. But when he went to build the airplane, everybody that had gone to college, the engineers that build airplanes and design airplanes, the accountants, the finance, everybody involved said, you cannot do this. You can't build a plane that flies this fast on this type of fuel, this efficient, with this many people, and sell it for this amount of money. And went right out and did it. And he built the first Lear jets, and they just sold them, and he was very successful. And he goes, but if I'd gone to college, just like all those people, I would have been educated what I can't do. That's the problem.
I love that because there's so many people that's like, you come out of college and you kind of come out of university, and then you know all the ways that one thing couldn't work, and the people that then never went to college, never went to university, innovate because they don't have the filters on that the people from university have on. It's really interesting. But man, you have an interesting really interesting background. You had real estate, you had gold, you dumped it both basically for Bitcoin. You're building a Bitcoin citadel, if I understood that correct. That's freaking awesome. And you're doing all that. Like, how old are you, if I'm allowed to ask?
Oh, I turned 66 just a couple of weeks ago.
Oh, that's freaking amazing. So like, that's really, really cool. I love your story. What do you kind of now expect from like Bitcoin going forward? Like we achieved so much already with like companies are buying it. The president is talking about it. Like it's almost like we almost won everything. But like now what do you kind of expect from like Bitcoin, like going forward from here?
Well, I think this is going to be, I've been saying this is going to be the year of FAFO, and fuck around and find out. And it's because Wall Street is now here and they're starting to wake up to it. And they're going to play their games. They're going to create derivatives. They're going to create ETFs. They're going to create all this paper Bitcoin. And that's just a given. I mean, that's how they play the game. That's how they control the game. That's how they're controlling the price now, I believe. I think it should really be shooting up, but it's not. That's okay. They can't do it forever. They're going to learn, you can't change Bitcoin, but Bitcoin will change you, or you lose. You're not taken over. If BlackRock fucks around and creates something that is horrible, takes control of the block, well, fuck off, fork off. Sorry. And they'll be like, you can't, but we can. This is the power of the people. The people have to wake up. Nostr and Bitcoin gives the power to the people. The meek shall inherit the earth. It is happening. You cannot stop it. I don't give a damn who you are. I've watched for 7-8 years Bitcoin being attacked. It is what I believe it is to be. Now, if it dies, then it isn't what I believe it to be. But I don't think I'm wrong. I think it's going to continue. And this is where people try to get, well, that doesn't have all the features. You don't understand how this works. I was around when TCP/IP was created, and people hate this. A lot of coders, it's not the same thing. No, it isn't the same thing. But TCP/IP is the protocol that the internet runs on. It wasn't the best, but it was the one that got adopted. And once that network effect kicked in, there was no stopping it. And it isn't even that great of a program. There was others that had more features and this, but it's like TikTok next block. It's like Nostr. Nostr's code is incredibly small. It's nothing. It's just sending notes around. You're actually holding the video or the graphics and everything on a server, and all you're doing is sending around the call up for that, like an API. You get a link and you don't know that, but when your page is being created before your eyes. And there. And so, these are the things that people, they don't understand. That simpler code really is better. And then you build layers on top, and that way you don't mess with the protocol. That's why it's similar in the sense of the effect of TCP/IP, which is the protocol the internet runs on, and people agreed to use it. It became the one. And it's just like Bitcoin. It doesn't have all the best features. I hope are you getting this? It says reconnecting on my screen.
Oh, yeah, I hear you perfectly fine.
Okay. So, yeah, I don't know why I have really good signal here, but in any case, it's just coming up on my screen is reconnecting. So, yeah, the future of Bitcoin, see, this is what's going to happen. There's going to be more hodlers. People are waking up to it. There are going to be more people adopt it. But also what's happening in Mexico, yesterday, I orange pilled 2 people. They're the easiest in the world. And the funniest thing was I was over with the Mayans a few weeks ago over in Yucatan, and they adopted like, oh, yeah. They're like, the government can't touch this. No, they don't control it. And they thought it was kind of their money because they already have one called Tumit, which is the Mayan word for money. So they've already created their own money, and they got in trouble in Mexico. These kids that created it years before Bitcoin got sued by the central bank and said, these people can't make money. And the central bank said, if 2 people say it's a currency, it's a currency. It's illegal to make Bitcoin illegal in this country. How's that? I mean, it's like the Supreme Court. I love them because they made plants legal. All plants. You can grow marijuana. I use it, cannabis, and I eat it. I make lotions out of it. And yes, I smoke it. I have for years. But the point is, it's legal for me to do this. It's not legal for me to sell it, drive it around, distribute, or any of that. But I can grow my own medicine. And I can grow peyote if I wanted to, or I could grow mushrooms if I want to. So or get them. That's not illegal in this country anymore. You cannot make plants illegal. It's a human right. That's the Supreme Court kind of like. Now, these are features of Mexico. There's also horrible problems. I mean, we just had a mayor assassinated on Day of the Dead in a huge celebration right in front of a ton of people. And everybody knows the government did it. We have a narco cartel that is running the Morena party, and everybody knows it. It's not even a hidden secret. I mean, they don't even try to hide. But the fact is, this is why Trump is so talking about coming into Mexico and really messing with them. Because there is normally when America comes in, even if it's the CIA, they come in and help assist these other military countries, and sometimes on both sides. That's what's horrible about America. America doesn't know what their government's been doing all over the world, and it's not good. More people have died in the name of America than just about anything. And people are like, what? And I go, all these wars, they create them. They feed them on both sides. It's disgusting what they do. I know this for a fact. I know people that did it. And it really is sad because it's gotten worse. I didn't realize how bad it got. It's now, this is where I say, you're trying to save a system that isn't worth saving. It's time to rebuild America. And it's happening. And the sad thing is, it's got to fall apart to fall together. And this, I say it all the time. I get very negative, and then I go, but wait a minute. This is the opportunity for us to build a new future that we can, that we've never had these tools. We've never had Bitcoin. We can have our own money, and we've never had free speech. Ever. I come from a publishing family. We had multiple newspapers my father owned. I learned the newspaper business really well. I was a journalist. And the fact of the matter is, it's never been free press. And I'd argue with my father as a kid, yeah, but you will print that article about the earth firsters that are spiking trees and trying to stop the cutting down of the old growth, but you'll put it on the 4th page. You'll bury it. Well, I can't put it on the front page. It's front page news, Dad. Yeah, but yeah, your advertisers. You see, he's still, well, they don't tell him what to do. If he does something wrong, they won't sponsor him. This is the problem with paid media, because this is news. The news on all the the mainstream media, they're actors. They're not journalists anymore. It's become entertainment. They lie. They bullshit. It's just out. Back in the 60s, it was such an honor to be a journalist. My father was a photojournalist, UPI and AP wire service, and he worked all over the world. He has pictures of him with Castro, with JFK, all these men. And he's like, holy shit, you're smoking. Did I smoke? And he did. And he goes, I quit years ago, but it was the thing. And he literally is sitting there having a cigarette with JFK, like they're all buddies in a photo. And I'm like, wow, that looks so. He goes, I sat there for an hour talking to him, like after I did the photos. But, very interesting life that he led. And this is why people look at me and go, man, you've done so much. I go, nothing, absolutely nothing like my father. He spoke 8 languages, art expert, wine expert. He was a Renaissance man. And everybody that met him, wow, that's a Renaissance man. I heard all the time, and I've learned a lot from him. But compared to him, I haven't done much. But he also knows that, what are you going to do? Just play? I did extreme sports for many years. I was absolutely obsessed with, surfing, paragliding, hang gliding, skiing, ice climbing, just tons of this stuff, diving. And I dive and surf in the same day that I was hang gliding. It was like I do 3 and 4 sports a day. And just, I worked, but I figured out how to be what we called a road warrior back then. And I had a black and white laptop, the Tandy 200, and I wasn't online, but I could work. And then I go back to the office and I plug into the modem. And the modem was like, I started at 300 baud. Most of you don't even know what a baud is, but that's 300 bytes. It was like super slow, even with black and white, no color, couldn't do video. And as things progressed to faster and faster, I was teaching telecommunications to people how to hook up computers. And people were like, why do I want a computer to talk to a computer? And some people thought telecommunications, oh, you're in rockets? No, it's just a computer talking to a computer. But they didn't understand, okay, they talk to each other. What good is that? Well, your accounting department, you can be here in inventory and shipping. And as you take things out of inventory, it can be sent to the accounting so they keep the books up to date instantly. Wow. And once I explained these things, I was like, oh, wow, that's pretty trick. And so we were some of the first people that used barcode. And we got the barcode readers from Tandy. Tandy, by the way, is Radio Shack. And Radio Shack, the Coco computer, which was color computer, that's where the Coco came from. And the first computer, personal computer, was a Coco, 8 bytes of memory. I mean, you got more memory than that in a gift card today. I'm not kidding. You open up a card and it's got, boy, that's way more. It's like amazing. What we carry around, the power of this phone that I'm talking to you on is much greater than what they've used to send any of the rockets into space in the 60s and 70s. I mean, it's absolutely mind-blowing. I worked with men. Now, I knew men, the one guy that built a hard drive. It said it was the size of a super big, like a commercial food can, bigger than a coffee can, and it weighed like 70 pounds, and it held less than 10 bytes of memory. 10K. That was a hard drive. If you wanted a hard drive, if you wanted to store information, when I first got into computers, generally it took the size of a bedroom, a machine that big, and that's where and it was tape storage. And also, I first started with paper. You had these paper tapes with holes in them, and you feed them into the computer, and that was your program stored on paper, or you use magnetic cards. And if I show these to old boomers, like, oh, wow, I remember those, but young people are like, what are you talking about? Yeah, we had paper storage. And you put it on paper. And I had a cassette tape backup for my laptop that Tandy had. So I'd sit there and put it onto a cassette tape when I back up my programs. And, it's all this stuff. It's like you say back up and go do something else because it'll take 15 minutes. And it was like doing a 3D drawing. If you made a globe and moved it back then on the Macintosh, you go have lunch and you come back and it's refreshed. It takes an hour to refresh the screen. To do a black and white wired globe looking like the Earth, if you move it, it's like, oh, like my artist said, okay, I'm going to shade it. And we see one panel come up, waiting, see another one. And it's got to fill in 60 panels. Like, all right, let's go have lunch. Let's go do something out. This computer's busy. So we had multiple Macintoshes running all the time because you say print. Okay, that's going to take an hour. Go over here and say, I'm going to do this. Now I need another computer because they're all working. They were that slow. And yet, well, we were able to do things and do things we could never do. And at that time, and even today, computers don't always solve the problem. People think I want to computerize it. Well, what reason? And they tell me, and I go, you know what? Your physical system is better. It's unnecessary. It's not going to help you. It's not going to make more efficiency of your business. People just wanted a computer because everybody else had them. And that happened in 93. But you see, in 1984, I was online with Charles Schwab and Bank of America pilot program, and I could sit with my laptop, Tandy 200, and trade stocks and use the money out of my bank account in 1984. Everybody said, no, I had a kid in the pool when I was doing the carnivore talk in Texas. And this kid, when I said that from Wasabi, said, bullshit, there was no internet. Guys, we did a hell of a lot of things years before the internet. The World Wide Web, which finally came out, didn't exist, but we were able to use bulletin boards, chat systems. We had tons of ways, and there was eventually a CompuServe system, and the AOL came out, Jimi, which is General Electric, and these are some of the, and then Netscape came along. All that came along 10 years after, and they took it away. I mean, I basically moved down to Mexico, but I couldn't trade anymore that way because it was a pilot program and it didn't get adopted. 10 years later, people were online banking. Like, I know. I already was able to, and now I can again. But everything's just, wow, online banking. That's been around long before it came out. You see, lots of things we were doing, these chat rooms and stuff. There was tons of ways to communicate. It just, the problem is they were like walled-in gardens, because if you're on CompuServe, you couldn't easily talk to the people in AOL, you couldn't use chat, or you couldn't email from one to the other. So they started making ways and software to where it would forward your mail and all these things. But when the internet hit, it changed the whole gig, because they could, basically it was a different, and then we find we didn't even need Netscape, we didn't need AOL. They were doing that to create the walled-in garden to make it so you use their services. Google has taken over. Google took over because it indexed the internet. That's what made them so powerful. It's a huge job.
I want to tell you about something very special to me. It's called Microseed. If you hold your Bitcoin in self-custody, and you should, you know how critical it is to secure your seed phrase. You should not have them on paper. You should not have them on anything else than titanium. With Microseed, you can engrave your 12 or 24 word seed phrase, the entire seed phrase, onto a 1-inch small washer. Yes, just one washer. All 24 words on that one washer. You can hide that thing everywhere. And even better, you don't need to buy a new kit every time you have to get a new wallet. You can make unlimited backups, because Microseed is not selling the washer. Microseed is selling the device that stamps the washer. So you get the full kit with the device, with the washers, with the hammer, with everything you need to get started today. And you can make with that unlimited amount of backups. Go now to microseed.io. Again, that's microseed.io to get your last backup tool you ever need. The most important thing for your Bitcoin journey is not buying Bitcoin, but it's how to keep them. And yes, you have maybe the right tools, but how do you actually go ahead and stick it all together so it's the most secure for you personally? Self-custody is a deeply personal personalized journey. And the Bitcoin way is helping you exactly finding that correct setup for you personally. They are also helping you with securing your own cybersecurity. And if you want to go one step above all that, you can even get a consultation for a Plan B residency. Go to thebitcoinway.com/Robin and you will get a 30-minute free consultation. I finally and officially mine Bitcoin. This is not just something to stack more Satoshis, but it's most importantly also to support the network. Individual miners are the ones that keep the Bitcoin network decentralized. And by the way, you get KYC free Bitcoin. That's why I use simplemining. I get an actual proper Bitcoin miner. They set it up for me. They repair it if it breaks down. And most importantly, they let me choose the pool and even connect my own full node. I'm completely sovereign and I'm completely in control, and I can sign up with Ocean, no account needed. I just give them a Bitcoin address and then there's mining going on. No KYC, nothing. So if you're ready to mine Bitcoin, go to simplemining.io, tell them you come from Robin, and let's mine Bitcoin together. I'm wondering about, because you've seen so much of technology, that you might have an interesting view on AI, what AI's impact or role in a Bitcoin world is.
Yeah, I was a searcher before search engines. That's why I know so much about Google. People hired me to search. And when I did those searches, I had to put in what we call a Boolean search string. So you see, I want all the males that are over 30, that are under 60, that are Caucasian, that are this, you put all, and it's less than, greater than, equal, and you basically make this, it's the algorithm. It's basically what Google does for you, so you can put in English now and it converts it. That's what AI will be doing. Now, the trick with AI used to be with the search engine, the trick is what question, what's the right question to get your answer? You see, and this is how search engines work. So I had to come up and I put it in and I get the results and I get off, because some of the databases I use were $250 an hour. So you just go in and use it for minutes. Now, people paid me great money for these results. And it was a crack up because I could do it in minutes. But sometimes I do it and then I get offline. Then I spend my time seeing the results. And no, that's not, how do I have to change the search string to get what I want? So it was always, what's the right question? Now with AI, it's going to be, what is the right prompt? If you don't prompt it correctly, you're not going to get the right answer. At the same time, if you change the prompts, how you're setting up the question in the statement will change its results. And we messed around with this the other day. We got a result of something that was like 86%. And I says, you know what? If you drop this email and this NIM, watch what happens. It was 99% true. What this was telling us is somebody that is attacking a friend of mine with NIMs, we know who it is. Grok knows who it is. And people, you don't understand. These computers, you can use them and it'll go back and you can ask, is this person the same person? And 86% chance. We had a list of like 6 emails. Then we put in, take out a couple that were questionable, that might actually be people, and boom, 99% true. And then they explain how. They show the relationships. This is the thing, people, it's not using their ISP, but this is what's going to give the law the right to use the ISP to find out if that is true. And if it is true, this person's in trouble. And it's sad that I tried to warn them, you don't do what you're doing on social media. But they think that nobody knows.
Yes, the prompt engineering. I think it's really interesting because I think as Google came out, the people that benefited the most were the ones that actually knew how to use Google, and then now it's the same with AI. It's like
okay, now you have brought up something. Google and AI. Okay, and this is what I'm telling you. And even guys that are OG Bitcoiners, when I tell them, they're like, "Geez, I didn't think of that." Using Google is a walled-in garden. You're not getting the whole internet when you use Google, because it will tailor your answers to what it thinks you want based on your past queries. So if you have 2 computers sitting next to each other, they've been used by different people, you're going to get different results with Google. I don't like that. It's filtering my results. I want the whole internet. So I use Dogpile, I use DuckDuckGo, and that's the other thing, use multiple search engines and definitely use multiple AIs. The AI is not giving you an answer. It's giving you an opinion of an answer, and depends how it was programmed. If it was programmed woke, like, I asked it, we're using in permaculture, we're concerned about soil. So we're asking questions about soil, and it comes back with a bunch of WEF documents, climate, all this. And it's like, this is, corrupt. This is no good. Then you go to another one, you get better answers. ChatGPT was definitely woke. Even Grok was a bit. It just doesn't. And we go, no, now look at these documents. So we have to train it. And then it starts, oh, I didn't know about that stuff. Well, why not? Because you were sent to go get this information, not that. So this is the problem with these systems. You got to understand that these are tools, and these tools can be used, but you got to use them intelligently. Most of the guys that I know that are programmed with AI, I was in a space with these programmers, and one guy says, yeah, I use 3 or 4. Other guy laughs and goes, I have like 15 open. And he runs the prompt on all of them. And the reason for this is then he can decide, verify, okay, this is what I'm after. That you cannot rely on the coding and whatnot of just one system. And it's really easy to have any AI read your code and take a look at it. But it's pretty amazing to see the differences. You know, and this is what you start learning is you got to use them as tools. You cannot just rely on one. And Google is a horrible thing to rely on. I don't like it much. I use it originally. I still have an email from there and I use it for business because that's been it for my bank and everything. But I really don't like using their Google Talk or anything. I don't trust Google at all. Okay. They used to be not evil. And they were burners and went to Burning Man. I know the guys. I mean, sure. And the fact of the matter, great people, but they've been co-opted for money. I mean, they're just insane. You cannot trust. I don't trust Trump. I don't trust Elon. That doesn't mean they're evil. I'm not saying they are. I'm old enough to just go, I don't trust nobody. People come to the ranch. I don't trust you. Are you kidding? I mean, yeah, you might be a fantastic person. And I'm hoping you are. Same time, you may not. Yes, I've had people I've removed from the ranch. You're not only not living here, you're not coming back. I'm very strict. People think I'm selling this ranch. First off, I'm giving the ranch to the program, to the corporation. I'm donating it. I will be reimbursed for what I built and the legal fees. I'm not asking for the millions for the property. I want the millions to go to building the place and making the event site. And people that get in here, if they're into that, they're like, oh, okay, that makes sense. I want to do that. They own it. You know, they're going to make their money. I want people to make a ton of money out here. Beekeeping, flowers, all this ag, all these products they can make. Somebody can come here and all they do is make jam. Other people come and they grow. Other people come and they're ranching. It doesn't matter. Other people come and don't do anything, just pay to have people do things. You see, we're going to have workers. So I'm not going to rely on volunteers. I'm not going to rely on many Bitcoiners will come and say, I'm going to do this and this. They're young and they're romantic. They think it's what they want, but then they really don't want to be here. I want people that have a passion for being here. And I'm going to make it very hard to get in and very easy to leave. That is a saying from intentional communities. That's not mine. That's something you should do. That. You know, I've studied intentional communities since I was 18 years old. Now, I bought the ranch thinking I'd like to do one, but I didn't really have a community with an intention. And the ranch found me, and it was like buying Bitcoin for $1. I bought it very cheap. That's why I can give it away. It's worth a ton of money. It was a hell of an investment. I'm working on a well right now. We get water up. This property instantly is $6 million, and I can sell it tomorrow. I mean, it's like, yeah, you know, so the wealth is there and the resources are here, but I want to share this with 100 families. And the reason I want to do it this way is because I want to get it built. Now, one way I could do this is sell it, make all that money, and then build it. But then they have to trust me. And when people come and understand how I've set this up, when the corporation's made, there's going to be the land will go into a land trust. Nobody can ever change what is this ranching, farming school doing. You can sell your house, you can move, you can build, you can do all these things, but you can't change the ethos of what I'm building. I can't even do it. Once I put it in, I would have to get permission from lawyers to take it back. And those lawyers aren't about to do that. And one of them is a federal employee. They're called notaries, and they're in charge of the public record. I have a friend doing this right now in Yucatan. He's under attack, being told that he's a scammer and everything else. No, he's not. I know the whole system. And the person accusing them is actually a problem. And they're going to find out you screwed up. But this is sad. The person doing this is not a Bitcoiner. They claim to be, but I can prove them wrong. And they're full of shit. But in any case, it's sad because it's complicated legal. And she evidently took it to a lawyer claiming, oh, it's all illegal. No, it's not. I've checked it out with multiple lawyers. We learned this from another Mexican school that's been open for 25 years. Another thing you can't do in Mexico is homeschool your kid. I didn't know that. I don't have children. But when I found out, oh, shit, that's a problem. Because that's what they're going to want to do. But if I build this community and put a school in it, the Secretary of Education, can't touch it. And teachers can be the parents. So we can beat the homeschool rules. This is what this community's already done. 25 years they've been in existence. I'm not doing anything new. I'm copying something that I know the Mexican government will be okay with. Now, we set this all up. We have a condominium, in a sense, it's a constitution that we have to make to live by. The one we submit to the government, it's just a boilerplate. Oh, yeah, we'll do this and this and this. And we sign it. Well, okay, fine. We never have to act that way. We can run it differently. We can use Fediment. We can use Nostr. We can use Bitcoin. They don't need to know all that. You see, the way we govern ourselves could be very different than what we're saying. But if we deal with our own problems and don't call lawyers, don't call police, don't get, we solve the problems here like good adults, then, they don't care. They're not going to be out here going, what are you doing? How are you doing this? I'm hoping that after years of people living here, they're going to want to copy it. The government comes out here and goes, all right, this is great. How'd you get this? The only way I know to teach people anything is through example. You cannot get people to understand things if they can't see it. So whether you can do an analogy or a metaphor and get an example just verbally, many times, especially like ranching, farming, construction, people want to see it. And when they do see how I build a house, wow, I want one of these. Now, they may want it here, but they may want it in another part of Baja. They may want it in another part of Mexico. They may want it in El Salvador. I don't care. I'm not shilling this place. I'm not selling it to people. You have to, OGs come here, good friends, and then they're like, okay, now you got to convince me you get to be my neighbor. Now, I know them, like, hey, where? I go, yeah, you already in. I mean, I know you. But this is what I mean. And once they're in, like Surfer Jim and Tone, I can say they want to do this because they've been saying they're coming. They've done it publicly. So there's a couple of guys who have been around for a while, Tone especially, and helped me get out of shitcoins back in 2017. And I met him in 2018, and we've become friends. But they want to build here. Well, more OGs are looking at when that starts happening, bro, ooh, I want to be in on this. Yeah, that's the intention. And I'm giving them deals and letting them in because they're helping with it. But at the same time, once there's three of us, you not just have to justify you to one person. I'm not a dictator here. There'll now be three people that vote and say, yeah, we want him as a neighbor. Now, if nobody knows you and you have no reputation in the community, most likely you're going to have to go on probation. You can live here in a camper, a trailer, but I don't want anybody buying and building something here that we really don't know. That's how I'm cheating. I'm trying to, and this is to get the first 20. After we get a good core 20 people, that's how I build big teams with employees so well. Once I get a couple of good employees, I tell them, if you have a problem with the new one, let me know. They're just as much about hiring and firing as I am. I have never fired an employee without my employees being, why didn't you do this earlier? It's like, why didn't you tell me? Because when I get mad, upset, and finally have had it, they've already know. And so I'm like, guys, you're the manager, all of you. You got a problem with somebody, let's be transparent. Kick it out. Don't hold it in. And that's how I build people. Now, a lot of people come and go, I don't want to work here. Like I said, the secretary goes, you guys make me think. They love thinking. They love running the business. I make them so a part of the business. They know everything. All employees know who's getting paid what. Everybody could look at the books. There's no secrets, and it makes life much easier. When I run my business that way and I get all the employees, they may not do it, but they know how to do things to the point when I walk out the door, they run the thing. In fact, I closed my sale business here in La Paz and we go 3 months down in Fiji. Because when you live in Baja, you got to find a really cool place to go. And Fiji was pretty awesome. So I go down there, and the first year I just closed the business and paid them. I paid them for 3 months of not working. And they're like, I come back and we open up the business and everything. They're going, man, it's awfully nice of you, but we didn't work for 3 months. So I go, well, I'm going to do it again. Like, can we keep the shop open? Yeah, you guys know how to, but I'm thinking it's kind of slow season. You can do a lot of awnings and this and that. I mean, there's money to be made, but you're getting paid anyway. I'm not going to pay a whole lot more. No, that's okay. So here they could take 3 months with no work. They're asking to work for those 3 months. I'm going to pay them the same either way. How many people do this, right? I mean, this is an awesome team of people. I had 6, 7, 8 employees. And they were like thankful that I let them work. When they didn't even have to, I was going to pay them anyway. And they're like, no, we like working. And they made money. I mean, oh my God, we ended up getting some really big orders. And I had to have one employee go with a friend of mine down to Cabo and measure some boats because he didn't know how to do that. So my friend taught him how to do it. Gives me the measurements. I'm down in Fiji. I designed all the sales, sent it back. It paid for my 3 months. That one project paid for my 3-month vacation. So, it's amazing. I came down here as a sailmaker, semi-retired at 30 years old. And I wasn't a sailmaker. I brought a sailmaker who taught me the trade in 4 to 6 months. We had a little issue at the end. He left and everybody was good. But he said, I taught you everything I know. And I've been doing this for 45, 50 years. And you build sales like just, well, you showed me how to do it. Yeah, but you do it. Like you just pick, well, I'm a sponge. I learn, I listen. I talk all the time, and I know that. But you got to understand, the reason I talk is to get other people to talk. When you explain yourself and humble yourself in front of people, I was a drug addict. I was an alcoholic. I am an alcoholic. You know, I don't, you know, I don't hide anything. My brother goes, man, you're so transparent. I go, yeah, but that's why people come to me and they'll tell me things all the time. I've never told this to anybody. I hear that all the time. And I'm like, you haven't even told your husband? No. I'm like, why are you telling me? This is something for your husband to know. You know, yeah, but go to your husband. And the reason I say that is because I get a lot of people that want a couple. I'm single. I've been single for years. When this happened, I wanted to get married. It was 30 years old. It was time. And all of a sudden, this arthritis in a week with severe pain. And the fifth or sixth night, I was literally couldn't move. My feet were the size of grapefruits. I didn't even, I was like a nightmare. It was just weird looking at them. It was like, I can't even stand up. And it took me an hour to get out of the house and get in my truck and get to the hospital. And they were like, oh my God, you got gout. That's in my family. So they immediately started, but I didn't have high uric acid, they found out. And they're like, oh, and they did a bunch of testing, finally ended up in the States, and they confirmed it was what it was. The internet had just come out. It was 93, I think, and the internet was just, or 92, getting used. And it was black and white in a lot of cases. But I had studied on the net. And by the time I got to a specialist, that's all he did. He's an incredible doctor. And he said, man, you know an awful lot. I said, well, I've been reading on rheumatoid. And I had a feeling you're going to say it's rheumatoid. And he says, yeah, there's no doubt. You've got a severe case and it's off the charts. Like normally they have a test that if it's 60, people have it, may be annoying. It's 200, you're going to have pain pretty regularly. And people that are 600 or 700 are in bed and wheelchairs. They don't move. I was at 1700 and climbing. They're like,
Gosh.
The only people we see this don't walk. I go, this isn't walking. I'm standing up, but it took me minutes to get across the room. They said, but you're still up. I go, what are you saying? They're like, a wheelchair for the rest of your life. We've never seen somebody this elevated that isn't in a bed. Well, they dropped it. We use cancer chemotherapy, methotrexate, knocks down your immune system. That's why they use it. And so I inject that every week into my leg. And eventually we knocked down. And after 2 years, I was able to walk and I got back to windsurfing. I still had pain. I had pain every day, but it's manageable. And I told them I'll sail and do things, but if I feel that I'm increasing the pain, I'll stop. But if it's pain that I already started with and it's not getting worse, and he says, and I started getting better. But he was like, you're going to be living with this. And it wasn't in my hands yet, but when it got to the hands down in Cabo, see, it moves. That's rheumatoid. This arm, when I started carnivore, I hadn't lifted it without using my other hand. I couldn't do this for over a year. In 30 days of got into keto, boom, my arm goes up. I am fanatic about my diet. And it's not a diet. It's fuel. And this is what gets me. When I was vegan and vegetarian or a high fiber diet, lots of fruits and vegetables, all this stuff, I've tried so many things. It was work. I had to work. It's like I had to remind me, oh, you can't eat that. You got to eat this. The carnivore diet, I crave what I'm supposed to eat. I eat once a day, huge steak, maybe 2. That's it. And I live on steak, salt, water, coffee in the morning with butter and cream. And I have more energy than ever. I'm up at 5 in the morning. I go to 9 at night, and it's amazing. It really is. But again, it doesn't necessarily have to be. It's an elimination diet. You eliminate everything by eating meat only, and then the fat, since I'm in keto, gets converted. And this is a process that most humans aren't doing. That is natural in our body. If you eat carbs and sugars, your body does not convert the fat. It's already got the carbs and sugars. If you starve your body of carbs and sugars and eat only meat, the fat will convert. Your body will convert it to the carbs that it needs to live. And that's a process that people don't do. So when I'm in ketosis daily, I go out of it a little bit, but come right back because I know what to eat. Like I eat a banana. Now I look at and people say, oh, you're not, well, I was strict carnivore, but I have cramps or I have this. And I have tried electrolytes. I've tried all these things and I don't like using a lot of powders and stuff. So I eat a banana and boom, no more cramps. It's like, so I look at plants as my medicine. I use cinnamon, I use garlic, I use plants and herbs and teas and all kinds of things because there's great benefits, medical benefits in plants. So I look at it as I eat the meat for fuel. And this is what I ask everybody. Why do you eat? Why does anybody eat? It's not entertainment, kids. It's your fuel. So why are you putting in peppermint gasoline? Why are you putting all this crap in your gas? The fuel for your car, imagine, oh, but it's this color and it's this and it smells this way. And you put all these additives. Crap, you just want some gas. And if you had dirt in that can, you're not going to put it in your car because you don't want to have to buy a new engine. But you can't buy a new body. And I put crap in my body for fucking 50 years, 60 years. This is where this comes from. They say it's hereditary. No, it's not. Not my family. Now my brothers and sister, older than me, are beginning to have signs of it. But I don't believe it's hereditary. I believe it's the crap food. It's seed oil. It's lab food. Because taking that out has been my diet. I mean, I've always smoked pot. I've done all these things, but nothing helped me like being a carnivore. So if you have an extreme disease, I suggest you get into a search engine, put that disease or put that problem, anxiety, mental, physical, doesn't matter. Put it into a search engine with the word keto. You're going to find there's a whole lot of people that have already done this. Almost every disease where they've cured themselves. Diverticulitis. My sister has it. Another friend has it. It's a stomach disorder. Can't eat seeds, can't eat popcorn, all these things. And they say, oh, I definitely can't eat red meat. Yet carnivores have cured themselves. And there's a doctor that is now a carnivore doctor. He treated people for diverticulitis and he said, oh, no, you can't do only meat. But they healed themselves. Then amazing enough, he got it. And the doctor himself ended up with diverticulitis and then became a carnivore. And now he's a carnivore doctor. You see, it's just amazing when you realize the strongest and healthiest people in the world in history, like up in Alaska, I studied Eskimos for years and the special program, absolutely amazing. These people can live on so little, and yet they have it down. I mean, they know exactly how to live for their environment. They eat not the fat. The fat, I mean, the meat, the seal meat is something to fill up their stomach. The fat is all the energy. That's what all matters. And they're fanatics about fat. And many people that have learned and studied, they try to eat a different diet up there. You can't. You're not going to survive. But you just copy what they're doing, and you're going to find you have all the energy in the world. Their diet is very restricted. It's, seal meat, and then it comes salmon and other seasons. But it's pretty amazing. And when you study this of other, communities and stuff, the food always comes down to, why do we have hundreds of diseases? But you look back when we didn't have 100 of these box stores, the Walmarts, the Costco, where people buy their food, they were eating real food. We didn't have 100 of these diseases. So reality is just eat real food and eliminate all the garbage. Because if you do, I mean, in labs, if you want to grow cancer, you use sugar. Glucose is his favorite food. So when you eat sugar, you're feeding any cancer cells first. You take sugar out of your diet, you take carbs out of your diet, you're not going to have diabetes, you're not going to have all these diseases. And so I want to get young people to get hooked on it, because when you eat right, like here, I'm craving the thing I'm supposed to eat. Not any diet have I ever had that. I crave the fuel, and I eat steak, salt, water. I mean, mostly I can tell you what has been in my every week, and I tell you, this is all, and they're like, that's it? 6 things or 5 things you put in your mouth? Yeah. Mica, which is a tea we make down here, a healthy drink. And, there's certain teas or things, and I'll eat an egg, hard-boiled eggs and things like that. But, I know like eating a banana kicks me out of keto, but for just half hour or so. So it's not a big deal. And generally I eat it at night after I've had my dinner, as my dessert is a banana. And I don't get cramps, and, it doesn't spike as much because it's doing its thing, with the carbs anyway, converting the fat. So it doesn't hurt it. I first eat the steak, wait an hour or two, and then boom. And the other thing about carnivore, there's no waste. I mean, when I get into this, like, something might be wrong. I mean, like, I have no poop. Nothing's happening. And then when it does, it's like, that's it? Like, you're kidding me. I didn't even crap it. And today, there's nothing. I mean, it's like, you start to realize your body's using all of it. I talk to doctors that, about no biology. They're like, it's not, and when you're in keto and you eat that fat, it doesn't make it to the stomach. I go, no, it's like when I eat, it's like a serum. I wake up and get stronger. It's like a drug. And people that know me are like, Jesus, when you drink that beef soup, I go, oh yeah, that's like cocaine that works for 24 hours for me. It's great. I mean, just drinking fatty soup, meat soup. Oh, it's just, yeah, let's go. It energizes me. I've never had food do that. So to me, that's the sign that it's the right fuel, because my body craves what it's supposed to have. All the other diets, I'm forcing myself to eat things that I didn't want to eat. I never liked fruits and vegetables that much. I did eat them. Thought I'd salads and all these things, doing the right thing, but I don't eat any of that stuff. And they say, well, you can't survive. I've done this 7 years now. So, and I'm healing. And thank you, Michaela Peterson, who I've never got to meet. She's my angel to put the information out there because, and Safety is the guy that told me to listen to her. And thank you to Safety and Tone to turn me on to Safety. So I've met these people and they saw, and I said, I can't eat meat because I have arthritis. And he says, listen to Michaela Peterson. I didn't even know who she was. Who's that? Jordan Peterson. I didn't know who he was. Famous author. I'm down in Mexico. I'm clueless a lot of times with the celebrities in America. And so they told me, and I watched these videos that night. And this was at the Big Block Boom. That I was in the pool in the morning, watched the videos that night, or no, the day before. And that's why I was talking to them in the pool. And I told Tone, I'm buying you dinner and I'm having steak and I'm starting. And I did, and I haven't quit. The thing, it's the easiest thing for me to do. I eat one meal a day, takes no time. I just went to the butcher yesterday. I have a couple weeks of meat. Don't have to make a decision for 2 weeks about what I'm going to eat. I know what I'm going to eat. And like last night, I came in, I was busy yesterday. It was already getting late. Didn't want to do the barbecue. Thought about it. I think I'll just fast. And I just fasted last night. And it's like, people see me do it and go, I don't plan it. When I don't feel hungry, I don't eat. And if I skip a day, I feel stronger and lighter in the keto. And it's just like, it's such a benefit. And people that do that, I Surfer Jim is a carnivore hardcore like I am. And he goes, everything you say, it's just amazing that, how you get this energy and you try to get people like, he gets really like, you got to do this. Well, I'm not saying that because it's maybe not for everybody, but I am saying eliminate the garbage. Get off the lab food. Don't be buying things in boxes. Don't buy things that have multiple ingredients. Eat real food. And I think you'll heal yourself of anything. And many people that do this, all of a sudden, are like, I don't need these prescriptions. Exactly. The medicines on top of medicines, and, and I know guys are taking stomach medicine because they take so many medicines. It's like, this is crazy. You guys are up to 20 pills a day with supplements. And I'm the guy with a disease, and I don't do that. I use fruits and vegetables as medicine, and I use steak. And they know me. They've seen me. And it's like, God, you are literally getting younger every day, more active. I go, yeah. I need pliers to take a hose off. Then it took 2 hands. The other day I was on the phone. I reached down, I took a hose off with 1 hand. And I was like, oh my God. I can't even imagine I could do that a year ago. Little things like that. People don't, with these hands, if I could hold the screwdriver better, twist my wrist a little better, they don't move, but they are now. And they say, you can't heal this stuff. You'll never get it. Well, they told me I'd never walk and my ankles never had cartilage. I guarantee you, I was windsurfing for years. I can pound the ground with my foot. Doesn't hurt at all. So I bet you if you took an x-ray, and I've never done it, I probably should go do it. I can show you the x-rays where I have no cartilage, and I'll probably show you an x-ray where there is cartilage. Something they say you can't regrow. Fuck doctors. Sorry. I just had enough of this shit. If you're a doctor or nurse and you're overweight, not in shape, don't talk to me. I'll tear you to pieces. I'm done with this. I only listen to healthy doctors and nurses. That's it. If you can't get your shit together as a healer, I don't want anything to do with it.
Yeah, we have seen all those pictures of health ministers that are massively overweight, and I'm like,
oh yeah,
that's health minister. That doesn't make sense.
I mean, look at the one we had, and the trans, and they had trans one, and just bizarre. Then the one in Europe that's she's just this fucking cow. Yeah, it's like when Carstens ever speaks, the head of the BIS, the central banks of central banks, he was a central banker, the head of the Central Bank of Mexico. So Carstens, and he's a pig. And I'm sorry, but when you look at me and tell me you need to see my pesos and dollars and everything I spend so that you can control me, and I look at you and you can't control yourself, shut the fuck up. Carson's a pig. Carlos Slim is a pig. Pritzker is a pig. Governors, all these people, the Chrissy and the auctions, I mean, these guys are just that fucking, they're examples of fiat. That's a fiat fucking body. It's created by fiat mindset. They think they're winners, they're losers. Cracks me up. Because I just look at those people envy their money and all that. This bullshit, man. And controlling people, they're not happy people. I'm around really happy people. I mean, Mexicans have nothing except for they have happiness. They do with what they got, and they're very happy people in the average. They're not at all down and depressed and all. No, they're enjoying life, and they know their government is corrupt as shit. They've known that since I moved here. See, Americans have always thought that their government is a clean government and they're good people. No, it's not. They've created more fucking wars, more trouble than in all over the world. The MS-13. Salvadoran gang was created in an LA County jail. And then they went back to El Salvador and began terrorizing their own country and then many thousands of gangs. The thing you don't understand about El Salvador, many Bitcoiners, is it wasn't a war. A war, you know where the war zone is, and you can stay out of it. This was everywhere because gangs would just pop up. So they had thousands of these kids and people that got armed and said, well, if you're going to do this, so every neighborhood you had to pay to be safe and all these, and it was gang after gang. It's way different because I've met a lot of El Salvadorians. I haven't found one yet that hasn't seen horrible crime, rapes and murder right in front of their eyes. Their own parents, their family, friends. The stories are disgusting. No human should have to live with that. And yet, this is where Americans think, oh, it's great, it's cleaned up. You have no idea what he cleaned up. It's way worse than like Ukraine to live in something like this because everywhere you go, somebody might take you down. That's why 1 million people left, and they're coming back. And that to me is better proof. Now, do I totally believe in, I don't believe in anybody or trust. Bukele, no fucking way. But as long as he's doing the right thing, I applaud him. If he becomes a dictator and doesn't allow elections, I'm not happy with that. It's like if Trump did that, nope, can't do that. And coming back as vice president, like you said, it's cute, but it's stupid. Don't do it. He should retire, having done what he did. And hopefully leaves the door open for somebody like Robert Kennedy, Tulsi, and these people to move up. Somebody, I'm not sure that I want Vance as the president. I think, I'd rather see Kennedy, the president. The reality, he seems to be somebody I could trust more than almost any of them. He seems to get it about the health, the food. But people got to understand, all of these organizations in America are corrupted. So imagine you come into the office. Now you're going to run it. You're clean. But tons of your employees are your enemies. They don't like you. They don't want you there. Pam Bondi's dealing with that. Kash Patel's dealing with that. Kennedy's dealing with that. These people, they've got it down. They're scamming the shit out of the government. All this money that's being stolen. They're scammed. This is where all of them are like, well, we don't want to stop this. It's the money train, It's like, hey, we're on this. It's like, this is screwing the the people that are paying the taxes. And like Soros takes our tax money and uses it against us to create these protests and arm the protesters with better equipment, better helmets, all these things. It's like, no longer can you protest in America because it gets corrupted with these people coming and making it violent. Now, I'm going to tell you a story. Back about 3-4 weeks ago, maybe a month ago, they had a protest in Mexico City in the Roma district, which is very gentrified. A lot of Americans and American-speaking people are there. The prices have gone up, and they're protesting. But they threw chairs through windows, big stores, and busted into things. I'm like, that's not Mexicans. And I put out a tweet saying, too bad we don't have a data Republican. If you don't know who Data Republican is, a great person to listen to see what all the scams are. She's a really good investigator and investigates tons of things and comes up with the receipts. She won't tell you something without all the facts. So I use her, but I said, too bad we don't have a data Republican here because I have a sneaking suspicion those were paid actors that protested and broke in and that's not how Mexicans are. And sure enough, somebody came back and said, you're right. It's Soros. Damn. See, U.S. tax dollars are being used all over the world to do this. This guy is evil as shit. And they're taking these. Now, the reason I'm telling you this is so they killed the mayor of this town just a few weeks ago. The Gen Zs went into the palace and destroyed it. They just we had enough. Now they're arranging a protest of millions on the 15th of November. Now, if there's violence in that protest, I bet you those are paid actors, instigators, trying to create the violence. I'm hoping it doesn't happen because Mexico has a history. Just last year, I was talking about the fact that they come out and demonstrate and do this and protest and change things. Well, that Sunday that I was talking on my spaces, when I got done, boom, I look at the Zocalo in Mexico has over 1 million people in one space. Guadalajara, Monterrey, same thing. And millions, 4.5 million people hit the street. And it said, no se toca, which means don't touch it. And what they're telling him is don't touch the IFE, the federal electoral system. He was going to modify it. And he didn't. Next day, he just said, I'm not touching it. It's not worth it. See, Mexicans voiced their opinion in protest. 1 million people in the Zocalo, not a single store broken into, and it's cleaned up the next day. Absolutely whistle clean. So this is the thing. They protest peacefully. They come out and block highways and everything. They'll burn a bonfire and say, you're not driving by this. You got to fix this, federal government. They'll shut down federal highways. But the reality is the federal government comes and listens because they have to. So it's amazing. I like this. The people of Mexico are much more unified. They know the enemy is not their neighbor. It's not the trans guy or the gay guy. Their problem is corrupt government, corrupt police, and corrupt politicians. They know that. They've lived with it for a long time. But at the same time, the government can't. See, I say this all the time. Mexico does not grant me more freedom, but I have more freedom here than I definitely would have in the United States. Why? Because it can't take it away from me. They have the ability to. They tried to do vax passes in Guadalajara and Mexicali. 3 or 4 days of the government, the governor, the mayor, you have to do this. And they just said, no, we're not doing it. And they didn't. All the restaurants are open to anybody. They didn't care about a vax pass. They didn't care if you had a mask on. I'm like, yeah, you can't do it, but we can. And this is what I want to get out. This is what Bitcoin's about. People tell me all the time, you can't do this, you can't do that. Yes, you can. But it's illegal. Look at who's telling you it's illegal. They're criminals. Why would I listen to Congress? Anybody in Congress? Because if you're allowing this Ilhan Omar, who married her brother, lied on her citizenship, to be in Congress, and you allow that, Republicans and Democrats, I don't care. You're fucked up. And yet that's only one example. They're almost all criminals, or they're allowing criminals. I don't know. Like, I love Kennedy. John Kennedy, speaks like he's an old man with a lot of anecdotes and really wise guy. There's very few of them. But if you pulled him up the side off a camera and say, what is really going, he would tell you. And I don't believe he's as co-opted as others. But at the same time, how can they be clean if half of them are dirty? The Republicans, the Democrats are doing, yeah, but you let them do it. And you're still letting them do it. Nobody's going to jail. This is where I say, no, the world is falling apart. Okay. It's very negative. It's like Jesus Christ all over the world. All the governments are fucking up. And I told my father before he died, the third world, if we have a third world war, I don't think that they can attack each other with nuclear because it'll be over. The reality is it's not going to be between Russia, China, and America, fighting. I think it's going to be civil war in most countries at the same time. And look what's happening. It's going to happen. Because once one place blows up and fights the Muslims or fights the restricted, money use or anything, because it's coming. They're pushing for a religious war in America, and they're going to get it. There are veterans that are loading up, and they're ready for these fuckers. These guys have no idea. They're saying, we're invading, we're taking over your country, it's going to be Sharia law. That is not a religion. That's an invasion, and that's a government. Fuck off. Period. And you're going to run into a whole lot of Americans. I don't care. They're still outnumbering the Muslims, and they're going to get run out of that country eventually, whether the government does it or not. People will not tolerate this shit. People that have lived in freedom, lots of them will give it up for privacy, for security. They give up their privacy. And you don't get either. There's more and more people waking up to that. Here in Mexico, they're like, yeah, the government can do whatever it wants. It doesn't affect us. And you're like, well, they're going to do this. We won't do it. I'm like, that's cool. The people are really connected, and they just don't participate. Mexico, if you want to shut down the bank accounts, freeze all the bank accounts, you just screwed the rich people. The poor people don't use bank accounts. How are you going to control them? And I'm getting them onto Bitcoin. Now they don't even know if they have money or don't have it. And this is the point. It's none of your friggin' business. And the Supreme Court will back that up in Mexico. I don't know about America. America's got very, judges and all this bullshit. Seems the Supreme Court's good. But the rest of them, the federal judges, are totally, they put 235 judges in. And they talk about this. Obama talked about it. They did it on purpose. That is treason. Founding forefathers were alive today, they would shoot Congress on the White House lawn. They'd shoot Obama. They'd kill him for treason. Same with Clinton. Guarantee you. There's enough fact out there. I know what I'm saying. Obama's a disaster of a person. He's evil. I don't believe he's an American citizen. There's a whole lot of shit about him. He's one of the reasons I quit making money so I didn't have to pay taxes anymore. I quit America. I quit supporting it. I don't have anything to do with it. And it's totally legal. Because I'm using an IRA. But everything else I pulled out, got out, and said, I'm done with this fucking country. About ready to cut my passport up when he became president, because he is absolutely a liar. And now this whole thing about, bringing in, they started this with Obama. Obama was really the beginning of a disaster. But the real beginning, the CIA killed Kennedy. Anybody go to jail? Shut down CIA? No. President Kennedy in the 60s is shot to death by its own government. We know this for a fact. Yet, nobody goes to jail?
It's crazy what's happening.
Why support the government? It's done. It's fucked. Yeah, they're going to print until they die. They're stealing from us every day. Quit paying them. You want to defund the police? You want to no, defund the fucking government. You need the police. You need your local government. That's all you care about. To hell with the feds. It's like, here, to hell with the major. They're so corrupted. We're just not going to play. And the reality is, if you live on Bitcoin and step to the side, you don't have to fight them. I've created a network for my food, for my, I've got the pot store where I buy cigars, or where I buy pipe tobacco and things like that, or papers. They take Bitcoin. I've got and anybody I can spend Bitcoin with anybody, because debit cards, credit cards are paid with Bitcoin. So they're receiving pesos, but I get to live off of Bitcoin. But they're beginning to understand, well, I want to do that. Exactly. You want to, and the way to, they talk about fiat mining all the time. Well, another way to mine Bitcoin is to do things for Bitcoin, earn Bitcoin. And that's where Mexicans are like, oh, I could do that. Yeah, I'm sending Bitcoin for honey. And this honey I buy is melipona, and it's a special honey, a special bee. And on my Twitter feed, you can see some things there. But it was amazing. The Mayan raised bees, and they raised this honey that's special. It's harvested with a syringe. So they don't have gallons of this stuff, and yet they charge very little for it relative to like Manuka, which is down in New Zealand. But you see, nobody's tested this honey. But this woman that I went to, her daughter had this when she was 16 and couldn't walk, and her hands were crippled. She looks normal. And she goes, yeah, I went into beekeeping, and it's the bees that healed her. There's a lot of things about bees. The frequency that they buzz at is actually very healthy for us to be around. And these bees are different. They don't have stingers. So she goes, put your hands in the box. And I have a video of this, and they climb all over my hands, and they just tickle me to death. But interesting enough, they went to where the pain was. And I mean, just directly to it. One hand, they were on it, and there's nothing here. And they went over to the other hand and just totally in my elbow, and they went right to it. And she goes, they like you. And my buddy's like, she never lets anybody touch the box, much less the bees. And she let me do this. Did it, and we went over to another sculpture she had, which is full of bees, and opened it up. She hadn't opened it up in a year. And we're like, oh, don't do that. She goes, no, I want to. And then, now put your hands over here. And I looked over into the barrel, and these bees come right up to me. She goes, oh, they really like you. I love bees. I have this, they're cool. They're pollinators. And what people really understand, they get into permaculture. Everything is connected. Everything. The soil is a biome, biology. So is your stomach. The reality is, we don't want to use chemicals and fertilizers to grow our food. Same thing for medicines, supplements, and crap that you're putting in your body. You got to understand, medicines and supplements are coated and in capsules. The coating or the capsule can be the problem, not the medicine or the preservative. There's much more in those pills than you realize. I talked to doctors because I was paying cash, no medical insurance. It cost me a lot of money, but I had it because I'm self-insured. I put it in stocks. Now Bitcoin is my insurance. And the point is that, I was paying cash. They found out, oh my God, and they said, you can get this medicine as this, syringe, injectable. And I said, yeah, you have a problem with the injection? No. Well, it's a hell of a lot cheaper, and it's better because it doesn't have all these preservatives. And they started teaching me about pills, and the pills have coatings and all this stuff. And they go, as doctors, we don't know, the pill, the medicine we're trying to give you, but that's not all that's in that pill. And we don't know everything. Those could mix with another supplement or food, and so it's very complicated. And so when you just dump a bunch of shit in your body, you're really pissing a whole lot away. But you might also not only not be getting benefits, you might be poisoning yourself without even knowing it. So it's a trick. It's like, I don't trust these pill companies. I don't trust anybody. And I'm finding out that just eating real food is my medicine. You don't need all that shit. And yet I got guys that are my age. They've replaced knees and hip surgeries. They're on CPAP machines to sleep at night. They look like elephants with their hose out of the nose and all these. And I'm just looking at them. You guys are a wreck. And yet I'm the guy with the disease. And they look at me going, how the hell are you? Just eat real food. And they're obese. Triple XL was not a shirt size when I grew up. I was the chubby kid. I was the fat kid. And I'm not much fatter than I am now. I'm just a bit more. And it's like, that was the fat kid. We didn't have obesity. It was rare. My cousins had a maid, and it was like, oh my God, my mom's, that's a medical issue. She had rolls and rolls. It's just huge. Now it's become standardized. That's okay. And it's like, no, it's not. Don't make that a beauty passion. People should still want to be, trim, thin, and happy, eat well. So I say it all the time, sound food, sound money to sound food, sound health takes you to sound soil. And it's a sound life. And Nostr will help us stay connected. Even if they shut down everything, it's an internet they can't shut down. So unless we don't have any.
It's crazy, but like I could listen to you for like 10 hours. So you have a lot of wisdom and you have a lot of interesting thoughts in there. So like I appreciate that sharing all those interesting things. And there's a lot of like really nice things in there. And I have a weird feeling that my audience really enjoys that one. I have that feeling usually after like now over almost 700 episodes, and that's
I've
really
heard,
cool.
I've seen some of your episodes. I've known about you for a while, and I do watch some of them. But there's so many podcasters and things, and I'm so busy at the ranch, and I'm on Spaces a lot. In fact, I do one tomorrow for 4 hours. 8 o'clock to 12 o'clock Pacific Standard or Mountain Time. It's called MST. But at that time, I go for 4 hours every Sunday. I think I've missed 3 in 5 years. So, I mean, last week we had 900 people or 860 people in it. I mean, it's a pretty big space. But what I'm bridging is Bitcoiners and permaculturists, and people that want a payment system versus HODLing. I look at it as, guys, quit trying to get people to do what you're doing. It may not even apply to them. There's many low-hanging fruit out there. There are people in permaculture, they already have sound food and they understand health. It's not hard to get them to understand I want sound money. They just don't know about it. Once I tell them about it, they're in. It doesn't take much. So this is what I try to do. I'm going for all the low-hanging fruit. I say every Sunday, I'm looking to find the people that are trying to get in the life raft. I don't give a damn about those that are swimming away, even if they're friends and family. I can't do anything about that. You can't force people to wake up. They got to do it on their own. So what I try to do, and this is, if you're trying to orange pill people, look at it this way. People don't learn unless they're asking questions. If they're not asking questions, they're not learning. So what you want to do is you make a statement that gets them to ask a question. Once they ask that question, you think, okay, what can I say as an answer that'll give them another question? And as you do this, tailored to them, you're gonna rock it. But many people.
We have an endothene in the podcast, and I think this question from the endothene fits very perfectly what you're kind of saying, because the endothene of the podcast, as you might know, is previous guest is asking a question for the next guest without knowing who the next guest is. And the previous guest asked you, if you go as a Bitcoiner to the most anti-Bitcoiner, what would be your like orange pilling strategy?
What is? Shit. What was that?
Yeah, that was the question. Like, what would be your like orange pilling strategy? Like, how do you get someone?
Well, I tailor it to the person. I mean, I change it, but I will say this: I have a very quick thing. People ask me, "What is Bitcoin?" Bitcoin is money for the people by money for the people by the people, run by code. Now, if somebody doesn't say, "What do you mean?" I leave it alone. But then, what do you mean? And then I explain, and I get another question, and I continue. But if I'm talking to a banker type, I'm going to talk TradFi. I'm going to talk in their language. If I'm talking to a person on the street, that is like yesterday, a couple of Mexicans, I'm talking about payment systems, and that's all. And then I kind of mention there's a safe place to put your Bitcoin once you accumulate it. Once you've saved up more than you want to carry in your phone, I can teach you to put on your computer, or we'll get you a device. And they just know that's there. They don't need to be educated how to do it. They don't know anything about mining. They just know that's how they produce it. I kind of explain a little bit, but I try to get away, and it's really hard. And anybody that's an OG, I mean, I've had a lot of guys that go, guys, you talk way over their head. We all do it. It's so easy to go down that rabbit hole much faster. It takes time to absorb. So that's why I say that the trick to teaching, because I was a flight instructor and I've taught climbing and all these. If you want to get people, there are times when they can't even remember what you said. Their head's in another place. You got to get their attention, and you got to ask them a question that gets them to ask a question. Now you've got them engaged. It's the same. It's how you do sales. If you want to sell a car, you got to solve the problem of what is your needs, not my needs. What are you looking for? And once you start to get it, I'm really big on this because I was a salesman of all kinds of things and I rock it. And they're just, how the hell? Because I'm satisfying their need, not my need for more money. I don't even think about the commissions. Money doesn't matter. I try to get whoever comes in my store, my business, I want to solve their problem. I want to get them the product that solves their problem, that is what they're looking for. You don't want that tent. That's $750. That's for backpacking. You're not backpacking. You're not carrying that on a mountain. You can get the same tent for $150 or $100. It looks identical. It has fiberglass poles. It's a bit heavier, but it's great for car camping. The owner's like, look, he's pissed. I go up to the cashier and I'm helping these people out more, getting sleeping bags. And I start telling him all this stuff. And I come up piling it up and he's looking at me and he went from being pissed to like, how the hell you do that? These people still spent $1,000 in the store that day and became regular clients. because I sold them sleeping bags, ice chest, pads for sleeping on, a ground sheet, and a tent for the $750, about $1,000. And they were like, I solved all their problems. They went camping, they come back. Okay, now I want a stove. Now we want to, okay, this is, and I had regular clients that come in even, and this was what am I buying today, Jim? They don't even like need anything. And I go, what am I? Oh, I got these really cool knives in. Or I've got these jackets. And they just, all right. The owner comes down and has two of these huge camouflage jackets. They're very expensive because they're down and they're awesome. I had one that wasn't camo, very comfortable, great jackets. So these people are really into hunting or acting like they are, whatever. They come in and he just told me, I got to sell these things. I'm put them on discount. Okay. 15 minutes later, they walk in. I take them over to the jackets. He's looking up from the window in the office, comes down to see these people buy that and want more. And, I gave him the discount. He's just like, I just put the friggin' discount. I go, they probably wouldn't have bought it if it was quite so much. They got a good deal. But look, these are great clients. They come in every Sunday and ask, what should I buy? What's the latest, coolest thing for outdoor camping? That's how they do it. They love the buying of it, the used, and whatever. But the point is, another trick I did in sales is people come in, and if we didn't have it, I'd call up a store and see if they got it. They do. I say, hold it for me. And I give them a sheet with all the competitors on our letterhead, and I'd circle the one that they're going to. The owner hated this. He said, you're sending them away. No, what I'm doing, I'm solving their problem. And what'll happen is they will always stop here first because I solved their problem. And they do. They come back and they go,
that's freaking awesome.
If you don't have it, let somebody else sell it. But you've got the people coming back to you because you've always solved their problem. So you're their first stop. That's what you want. You're not always out of inventory. So what? You lost $50 on a sale. They'll never forget that I'm helping them solve their problem. And they're coming, and they literally come in as Jim here. And everybody's like, well, no, he's off, or I'm in the back. And, so why is he in the back? Well, we rotate chores. And it got to where I'm in the back off, stocking. And the day I quit, I had to unpackage and fold and price 700 sweatshirts. And just sitting there doing that while I watch people lose sales on the floor because they're not good salespeople. And I said to the owner, I said, I'm never doing that again. You need me on the sales floor. I popped out for a couple of sales and I nailed it. And the girls were having trouble. And they came to me, and it wasn't that they're women. It was just, they weren't as knowledgeable about a lot of things, tents and, backpacks and stuff. They knew a lot about shoes or, different things. But this is where we help each other. But they, no, you got to work in the back. And people come in and they go, okay, well, I'm leaving. I'm like, well, what, can I help you? I go, no, I want Jim to help me. I literally had people, he did a tent sale every year and one day, and he'd call me up and say, I want you to work the tent sale. All right, this is how it's going to work. I'm going to work outside. I'm going to sell tents. I'm not touching a cashier. I'm not working in the back. You give me a list of everything you want gone. It'll be gone. I'd do $30,000 to $40,000 worth of sales in a day for the guy. And this is backpacks and tents and sleeping bags and clear that. And he's just like, you have cleaned out everything. How the hell do you do that? Just keep bringing me people. But I don't sell them what I want to sell. I sell them what they need. This is like with Bitcoin. If you want to orange pill somebody, you got to know their needs and you got to solve it. In many cases, it's number go up, HODL, and hold on. It's the best place to save your money. But in many cases, it's also a payment system. I use it every way you can use it. I basically use it as the strong box of the bank, the checking book, and the cash in my pocket. The change, all of it. I don't care money. I get up all the time yesterday I got some pesos. And I said, you're not going to, I gave the guy a discount for Bitcoin. And he's like, oh, and he checked his wallet. I don't have it. I'll just give you cash. Well, that's more. Shit, you get a discount for Bitcoin, buddy. And he's like, damn it. All right, I'll pay it, in cash. And so I have to go out. Now I have some cash. I never have cash. And it's a thing here because it's hard to get cash. In some of these towns, if I pay people cash, even though they have cash, they go to the store and they go, I can't break that. If it's a big bill being $25, 500 pesos. And they'll go, you can't buy a beer with 500 pesos. I mean, I don't have the change. So they either do credit or they put it on credit. But you see, I mean, we have problems that Americans have never experienced. Have you ever been in a town when there's not enough cash and people are using traveler's checks or pieces of paper for cash? I mean, it was like script and stuff get invented. Humans get very quick, about solving the problem. But the issue is that, the government says, oh, you can't do that. We have to. You don't have enough paper. You don't have enough money. And how many people know about running out of money? Banks run out of money, all this. And the other weird thing, I can go into the bank. I've done this years ago during COVID. And I said, I need $40,000. I screwed up and didn't do it the day before. I'm flying out the next day. And it says, any chance you can help me? And he says, what do you need? It says 40 grand. He says, Dollars ago, yeah. Hold on a minute. Come back. Yeah, we'll have them 15 minutes. 5 minutes. They counted it out and brought it to me. So I was like, how many banks in it? You can't do that in America. You have to schedule to get $4,000 from most banks now. You can't just walk in and cash your check. It's just fucking ridiculous. And yet I don't have that permission anymore. I have no third party telling me when I can spend my money. It's the most awesome feeling in the world. I'm like, I know what I'm doing. Yeah, I mean, I paid people yesterday, and it's slick as can be down here. Yeah,
it's really cool. I run into a problem because in 15 minutes I have another podcast. But
yeah, I'm sorry.
I loved it. I loved it so much. Those are one of the interviews where I'm like, I just want to have like a 4 or 5 hour podcast, not like 1.5 hours. And I think this one is probably around like 2 hours. I don't know exactly because we split up once in between. But I'll put those two together, and I'm really looking forward to releasing it. I think people really love it. Before I let you go, is where can people find you, ask you questions? I think you have a Twitter space, Twitter.
Yeah, Twitter. Unfortunately, when I got into this, I went ahead and did some crypto, so I call myself Crypto Zorro. But the problem is, it's spelled CRIPTO, which is the Spanish for crypto. So CRIPTO ZORRO, and you'll know you got me if it says Jimi as the name. You'll see my picture not with a bike helmet on. The reason I don't change it is I have a construction hat that Yellow put on it. So I met Yellow. I says, I won't take it off till 100,000. And then I haven't bothered. He says, you still got my helmet on. But yeah, Yellow's a great guy. Awesome. Yeah, that's the thing.
I had Yellow on. He's really great. I met him. I briefly met him in Lugano. He was there, so it's a really cool guy. Yeah, thank you so much, Jimi, for being on. It was an honor. It was really cool to speak with you, and I listened a lot, and I loved your inputs. And also thank you so much for everyone that is watching and listening, for joining us today. As always, I'll be back tomorrow with another episode. Bye bye. This content is for educational and entertainment purposes only and does not constitute financial advice.